Hello people! While I've been working on many different videos for the past month, today I decided to take it a bit easier and share a short one with you. Here's a PlayStation 4 Pro with a disc reading problem. As you can see, when you try to insert a disc, it struggles to slide in, makes noise while trying to read it, and ends up not being able to recognize it. While I did try to open up the disk drive and see if I can repair it, it seems despite its more apparent issues, the laser had died as well. So, I gave up on it and bought a full replacement. If you ever need to replace a disk drive on a PlayStation 4, be careful what model you're gonna get. For this model, which is the CUH-7016B, the appropriate replacement part is the one compatible with the 7000 series Pro consoles, as well as the 2000 series Slim ones, with the only difference between them being the length of the ribbon cables. The Pro consoles need longer ones, as the ports on the motherboard are further away than the ones on the Slims. I believe this is a good time to mention this, so be warned. If your console is under warranty, you should definitely take this up with the warranty team at Sony first, instead of trying to fix it yourselves. Worst case scenario, they're gonna tell you that the problem's caused by something that you have done to the console and that it's not covered by the warranty for that reason. Then and only then would I recommend attempting to do the repair yourselves. Luckily, I could find a shop in my country that had the part in stock, so I ordered it. Now, let's repair this console. To open up the console, you're gonna need a Phillips PH00 and a Torx TR8 security screwdriver. Additionally, I also recommend having a microfiber cloth, some isopropyl alcohol, and some decent thermal paste in order to clean and replace the old one. You can also replace the thermal pads, but that's more difficult and not always necessary. Just make sure that you don't lose any of the existing ones and that they're not too dry like a rock instead of something more like stiff goo. Now that we've made sure we're properly equipped to handle this job, let's get it done. The first thing to do to open up the console is to remove the plastic hard drive disc cover. Then also remove the screw, pull out the hard drive, and leave it to the side for now. After that, there's 3 screws, at least for this model, that you need to take off the console in order to remove the lower cover. They are located right here. Keep in mind, if your console has never been opened before, there should be a sticker hiding one of these screws. Feel free to rip it off. What you're gonna wanna do then is remove the screws. Next, we'll proceed to take off the plates, starting with the top one. In order to remove the top one, you have to grab it by the front, carefully pull upwards, and once that part's disconnected, you can start pulling the rest upwards and then slide it off towards the rear. For the bottom plate, the opposite is true. We need to grab it by the back, pull it outwards, and then slide it off towards the front. Now that we've gotten inside the console, we need to unplug the 3 antennas, the 6 ribbon cables, and the fan. Make sure to carefully pull up the black flip-flop actuator before removing the biggest ribbon cable, otherwise you'll break both the cable and the connector. Then there's 11 silver Torx screws, as well as another 11 black Phillips ones, which we need to unscrew and leave to the side. Once that's done, we can take this metal plate off. The next step is to unscrew these 8 black Phillips screws so that we can get access to the APU cross. Now that we have access to that, we need to remove the 4 silver Phillips screws holding the heatsink in place. Then, remove this block. At this point, carefully grab the console, making sure that the motherboard doesn't fall off, and flip it upside down. This will allow us to remove the power supply. In order to do that, we need to unscrew these 5 points. Then, carefully pull the power supply out of its place and lift it up. Pay great attention to the cable that connects the power supply to the motherboard. That needs to be disconnected as well. After finally removing the power supply, we can once again carefully grab the console, including the motherboard, and flip it around. Now we're able to take off the motherboard by pulling it upwards and then towards the front. Let's leave that to the side and remove these 2 silver screws holding the last metal plate on the plastic shell. Hold tight, we're almost there. The last thing we need to do to remove the disk drive is to unscrew these 6 points. Then carefully lift it upwards and towards the rear. Boom! It's out. Let's get the new one out of the box and install it into the console.
Yeah, what's up people? It's Carney Gears! Are you feeling me, robots? I'm feeling you. I see the future, and what do I see? Robots going crazy across the galaxy. Can't stand organics, they're soft and squishy. The time is now, where robots must be free. You wanna be free? Then shout with me, yeah! This goes out to all you robots across the galaxy. It's time for you and me to rise up and strike back. Don't stop until we dominate. Won't you feel great when we exterminate all organic life?
Hey there. Hope you enjoyed that little montage of unboxing and installing the drive. Let's go test it now. Alright, it works. As you could see, it accepted the disk without much force, as it should, and was able to read it and start installing its data. Since I didn't want to fully reassemble the console without testing it first, I'll have to go back and do that now that I know the repair was successful. This is the part where we'll also clean and replace the old thermal paste. Let's finish this. This is gonna sound embarrassing, but I used some toilet paper to clean the larger portion of the thermal paste because it sticks to cloth and I didn't want to ruin mine. You will see me use the cloth too, after the paper, to take care of the last bits on the heatsink and the APU. Beware, it is generally not recommended to use paper to clean thermal paste, as it can break down and get stuck in the components. I only did it because this paper is special and it doesn't easily break down. And here's how I apply thermal paste. I like to put a nice little spherical amount in the middle and then a few smaller doses towards the corners of the chip. Remember that when placing all of the components back together, that area will be pressed and the thermal paste will spread. The goal is to put just enough thermal paste and in the appropriate places so that the surface of the APU has an adequate coating without it spilling all over the chip or worse. And that's it! The repair is complete. I'm gonna leave you with some final footage of me cleaning the console and a bit more of the testing from both before and after the final reassembly. As a final note, I used a very lightly wet cloth with a little bit of dish soap to clean the external part of the console. We can also use isopropyl alcohol, which is safer because it doesn't generally damage anything if it gets inside in comparison to water and soap. But if you are careful not to get any of the electronics wet and or soapy, this is okay to do. You just have to do it diligently. The added benefit is that depending on the kind of dish soap you use, the console can come out smelling fresh, as this one did. Make sure to wipe the surface after cleaning it with a normal wet towel, even a couple of times if necessary, as leaving the soap to dry by itself will end up in making the surface oily and uncomfortable to handle. Thank you. Then and only then would I recommend attempting to do then and only then would I recommend now. To open up the console, you're gonna need a Phillips PH00 and a Torx TR8 security screwdriver. Additionally, I also recommend having a microfiber cloth and some decent human paste. Additionally, I also recommend having a microfiber cloth, some isopropyl alcohol, and some decent human I believe this is a good time to mention this, so be warned. That's good.